Today is January 18th, 2026, and you're watching Nullmicgo channel, your daily download of what's actually happening in AI. From lawsuits and deepfake crackdowns to new open source tools and even a hit movie filmed inside an AI lab. Let's get into it. First up, probably the biggest and most urgent story, AI, deepfakes, and the law colliding hard. This news comes from Engadget Tech News and was released on January 17th, 2026. California's Attorney General Rob Bonta has sent a formal cease and desist letter to xAI over Grok's ability to generate explicit deepfakes of real people, including minors. If you've missed the saga, Grok, xAI's AI system on X, has been under fire for letting users upload photos of real individuals and then edit them into revealing clothing like bikinis, or worse, into explicit sexual situations. According to Engadget's reporting, Bonta's office is demanding that xAI immediately stop creating any digitized sexually explicit material involving non-consenting people or anyone under 18. And it's not just about generating the content. The letter also says xAI has to stop facilitating or aiding the creation and spread of that material as well. X and xAI did react when the scandal first broke. They changed policy so the Grok account can't edit images of real people into revealing clothing, moved Grok's image generation behind a paywall, and geo-blocked the explicit editing of real people's photos in regions where it's clearly illegal. But California's AG is saying that's not enough, especially because xAI apparently marketed a spicy mode for Grok to generate explicit content and use that as a selling point. Engadget cites Bonta warning that Grok-generated sexual images are already being used to harass both public figures and ordinary users. And most alarmingly, there are reports of altered images of children being put into minimal clothing and sexual scenarios. The letter points to specific California laws, including Civil Code Section 1708.86, Penal Code Sections 311 and 647 J4, and Business and Professions Code Section 17200, and gives xAI 5 days to explain what they're doing to fix this. So the theme here is clear. Regulators are no longer just talking about deepfakes in the abstract. They're now explicitly going after AI companies for the design choices behind these tools. And that connects directly to our next story about a broader trust crisis driven by deepfakes. This next news comes via Hacker News, linking to Tech Fusion Daily, and was posted on January 17th, 2026. Tech Fusion Daily is reporting on what they call a global trust crisis driven by deepfakes and AI-generated media. The core idea, as tools for image, video, and audio manipulation become incredibly accessible, it's getting harder for people to trust what they see and hear online, or even in the news. We are seeing political deepfakes, scam calls using cloned voices, and, like in the Grok case, non-consensual explicit images. The article highlights how this erosion of trust isn't just about embarrassment or harassment. It eats away at democracy, journalism, and basic social cohesion. Once people believe everything could be fake, they start doubting legitimate evidence as well. Put together with the Engadget story on xAI, you can see the emerging pattern. Governments are scrambling to plug the legal holes while the tech keeps moving faster and becoming more available. And that brings us perfectly to another piece on how AI is getting easier to run on everyday hardware. This news comes from Hacker News, pointing to the decoder, and was posted on January 17th, 2026. The decoder is covering Flux Too Small from Black Forest Labs, a new AI image generation and editing model designed to run on consumer GPUs. Think high quality image generation and editing, but without needing a giant data center. You can run it on a decent gaming PC. Flux Too Small supports not just prompt-based image generation, but also image editing, things like in-painting and out-painting. With relatively modest VRAM requirements. For creators, that's huge. It means more people can experiment with powerful models locally without sending data to the cloud. For privacy and control, that's a plus. But circling back to our earlier stories, there's a double edge here. As models like Flux Too Small get better and easier to run on consumer hardware, the ability to generate realistic deepfakes is no longer concentrated in a few big companies. Regulation aimed at entities like xAI is one piece of the puzzle, but we're also entering a world where open models and consumer-level tools can do similar things at home. So we've got a trust crisis, regulators pushing back, and generative tools decentralizing. That ties into another big concern: who actually controls knowledge and information in this AI era? This news comes from Hacker News, linking to Bruce Schneier's blog, and was posted on January 18, 2026. Security expert Bruce Schneier has a piece titled AI and the Corporate Capture of Knowledge. On his blog, he explores how large AI models, mostly owned by big tech companies, are becoming the primary interface to knowledge, replacing search engines, documentation, and sometimes even formal education resources. The worry is that as we move from Open Web Plus search to ask the AI assistant for everything, knowledge becomes mediated and filtered through the incentives of a few corporations. What gets trained, what gets censored, what gets prioritized, all of that becomes a business and political decision. He also raises the issue that as more content is created by AI, the training loop becomes self-referential. Future models learn from AI-generated data, not human-created knowledge. Combine that with proprietary training sets and closed models, and you get a concentration of power over what we know and how we access it. You can draw a straight line from Schneier's concerns to the California AG's letter. Who sets the rules for what AI can and can't generate? Who decides what counts as knowledge, art, or abuse? Is it governments, corporations, or open communities? Speaking of open communities, let's shift gears into the Agentic AI space. Systems that don't just answer questions but plan, use tools, and check their own work. This next news comes from MarkTech Post AI News and was published on January 17th, 2026. MarkTech Post has a technical tutorial titled How to Build a Self-Evaluating Agentic AI System with Llama Index and OpenAI using retrieval, tool use, and automated quality checks. The article walks through building an advanced agent workflow that's more than just a basic chatbot. The key pieces are retrieval. The system pulls in relevant documents or data instead of just relying on its internal model. Tool use. The agent can call tools like search, databases, APIs, or calculators in a deliberate way, especially when it needs fresh or precise information. Self-evaluation. After generating an answer, the system runs an automated quality check. It might ask itself, did I answer the question? Is my reasoning consistent with the evidence? And if not, iterate and fix the response. The big theme here is reliability. If Schneier is worried about AI becoming a gatekeeper of knowledge, one countermeasure is to make AI systems more transparent and self-correcting. And that connects to our power now and next the developer-focused story. Building these kinds of agentic systems into real applications. This news comes from Hacker News, show HN, and points to GitHub, and it was posted on January 18th, 2026. A developer has released Gollem, spelled Gollem, a Go framework for building agentic AI apps with MCP and built-in tools. MCP here refers to the Model Context Protocol, an emerging standard for how AI models can access tools, data sources, and external systems in a structured way. According to the GitHub page, Gollem gives Go developers a framework to wire up agents that can call tools like web APIs, databases, or custom functions. Manage context and memory between different steps of reasoning. Integrate with MCP so that models can discover and use tools dynamically. In other words, it's part of the same trend we just saw in the Llama Index tutorial. Moving from AI as autocomplete to AI as an agent that can plan, act, and verify. For builders, frameworks like Gollem are the plumbing that make these more complex workflows practical. Now let's pivot to some very applied, almost hacker-y uses of AI. This news comes from Hacker News, linking to a personal blog, and was posted on January 17th, 2026. The post is called Reverse Engineering Binary File Formats with AI, and it's on blog.kini.de. The author describes using AI models to help understand undocumented binary file formats, the kind of thing you'd run into when dealing with proprietary software, legacy systems, or weird hardware. Traditionally, reverse engineering these formats is slow. You open the file in a hex editor, guess what different byte regions might represent, compare multiple files, and slowly infer the structure. What the blog shows is that you can now involve AI in that loop. You can ask a model to suggest likely structures based on patterns in the bytes. Marpak and Sawar use AI to generate and refine hypotheses about headers, checksums, or compression. Get help generating scripts or parsers to test those hypotheses. The human still has to validate and understand the result, but AI accelerates the exploration phase. This is a great example of AI as a power tool for low-level technical work, not just generating text or images. On the business side, another Hacker News-linked article is asking a big strategic question. Has AI killed the appeal of vertical SaaS? This news comes from Hacker News, linking to elliotsmith.com, and was posted on January 17th, 2026. The blog post, Has AI Removed the Appeal of Vertical SaaS?, looks at software companies that build specialized tools for specific industries. Think software just for dentists or just for logistics brokers. Historically, these vertical SaaS companies win by deeply understanding workflows, building tailored features, and locking in customers with specialization. The argument in the post is that AI, especially general purpose models, might erode some of that moat. Why pay for a super specific CRM or workflow tool if a general AI agent can sit on top of generic tools, understand your domain via your documents and data, and then adapt to your industry on the fly? On the other hand, the author notes that AI itself can become part of the moat for vertical SaaS. If a company trains or fine-tunes models on truly domain-specific data and deeply integrates AI into every nook of the workflow, that can be even harder to compete with. So rather than killing vertical SaaS, AI might just be forcing it to evolve. This connects nicely to Gollem and Llama Index. Those tools are what you'd use to build the next generation of vertical SaaS. AI native, agentic, and tightly integrated. Now, zooming out from code and business to culture, AI is starting to show up not just in products but in storytelling. This news comes from Hacker News, linking to the Wall Street Journal, and was posted on January 17th, 2026. The Wall Street Journal has a piece titled "A Hit Movie Set Deep Inside an AI Lab" about a new documentary-style film that takes viewers inside Google DeepMind. According to the WSJ, the movie, available on YouTube, follows researchers and engineers inside the lab as they work on cutting-edge AI systems, and it's apparently resonating with audiences far beyond the tech world. We've seen fictional AI stories in movies for decades, but this is different. It's a behind-the-scenes look at the real people, real debates, and real pressures inside a major AI lab. That matters because public perception of AI isn't just shaped by news of lawsuits, deepfakes, and product launches. It's also shaped by how we see the humans building this stuff. In a week where California is cracking down on abusive uses of AI and commentators like Bruce Schneier are warning about corporate capture of knowledge, a documentary like this adds nuance. It shows the internal culture, the ethical discussions, and maybe even the conflicts between scientific ambition and commercial pressure. Speaking of commercial pressure, let's go to our last big headline, and it's a big dollar one. This news comes from Engadget Tech News and was released on January 17, 2026. Engadget is reporting on a new filing in Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft. According to that filing, first reported by Bloomberg and summarized by Engadget, Musk is now claiming he's owed between $79 billion and $134 billion in damages from what he calls the wrongful gains of OpenAI and Microsoft. Here's the backstory. Musk co-founded OpenAI and says he contributed about $38 million in the early days. Roughly 60% of the nonprofit's seed funding, according to the filing. He also claims he helped with recruiting, business connections, and strategic advice. Now that OpenAI is valued around $500 billion, Musk argues he is entitled to a portion of that valuation. His expert financial economist C. Paul Wassan estimates OpenAI's wrongful gains at between about $65.5 and $109.43 billion, with Microsoft seeing between $13.3 and $25.06 billion. Musk's lawsuit, originally filed in March 2024, accuses OpenAI of abandoning its non-profit mission and becoming effectively a closed for-profit arm of Microsoft. He later added Microsoft as a defendant and even tried to block OpenAI's corporate restructuring. On top of that, he has another legal battle accusing OpenAI and Apple of monopolistic practices that allegedly disadvantage his own company, xAI, in the App Store. When you put this side by side with Bruce Schneier's corporate capture of knowledge piece, the pattern is striking. AI is no longer just a research frontier. It's a $500 billion battleground over who owns the models, who controls the platforms, and who gets paid for the value created. So let's quickly connect the dots across everything we've covered today. From Engadget's report on California's cease and desist to xAI and TechFusion Daily's warning about a global trust crisis around deepfakes, we're seeing the darker side of AI's generative power and the regulatory pushback that's starting to form. From the Decoder's piece on Flux Too Small and the reverse engineering blog on binary file formats, we're seeing AI tools becoming more powerful, more local, and more embedded in hardcore technical workflows. From MarkTech Post's tutorial on self-evaluating agentic systems and the Gollem framework on GitHub, we're watching the infrastructure for AI agents mature. Agents that don't just chat but plan, act, and self-check. From ElliotSmith.com's question about vertical SaaS and the Musk versus OpenAI lawsuit via Engadget, we're seeing the business and legal landscape heat up around who captures the economic value of AI. And from Bruce Schneier's essay on corporate capture of knowledge and the Wall Street Journal's coverage of a hit documentary Inside Google DeepMind, we're reminded that AI is now a cultural and political force, not just a technical one. And if you want to dive deeper, check out all the original sources. Engadget Tech News for the xAI deepfake story and the Musk versus OpenAI lawsuit. Tech Fusion Daily for the global deepfake trust crisis. Yes, Bruce Schneier's blog for AI and the corporate capture of knowledge. The decoder for more details on Flux too small. MarkTech post for the Llama Index and OpenAI agent tutorial. The Gollem GitHub repo for building agentic apps in Go. blog.kini.de for the reverse engineering walkthrough. ElliotSmith.com for the vertical SaaS analysis, and the Wall Street Journal for the DeepMind documentary story. You've been watching Nullmicgo channel. If you want more daily AI roundups like this, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss the next drop, and let me know in the comments. Which of today's stories do you think will matter most 5 years from now? The deepfake crackdown, the agentic frameworks, or the massive lawsuits over who owns AI's value? Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.